Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, and today we're sitting down with Andrew van Tilborgh. Andrew is the director of photography for AVAIL and for the Waymaker Journal. Today, we'll talk about Andrew's photography journey, what he looks for when capturing photos, the creative process, and so much more. So, lean in, everybody, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. And let me just say, everybody, it's good to be back. My name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church, aka Iglesia Vertical in South Florida, where we are one church, two languages. And I'm your host for the AVAIL podcast, where we sit down with amazing leaders, people who are making a difference in the world for the kingdom. And today it's actually a special episode for me because I got to interview a good friend. Andrew van Tilborgh is in the house on the AVAIL podcast. If anybody has ever lifted up or held an AVAIL journal in their hands, you've seen some amazing photography. I will tell you that all of that photography is thanks to Andrew van Tilborgh, photographer extraordinaire. Andrew, it's good to have you on the AVAIL podcast. How are you feeling today?
Hey Virgil, it's good to be here. It's good to be on the other side. I've listened to a lot of these episodes, and it's an honor to be able to have this conversation with you.
I'm excited, Andrew. You and I have been friends for many years now, and I have been a spectator watching you grow in your art, watching you grow in the giftings and the talents that God has given you, specifically in the area of photography. I think this is going to be a fun conversation, especially for leaders who are leaning in, who maybe need or have photographers and creatives that are working with them or along them in the organization. Before we jump into some interesting talk about photography, share with us a little bit about yourself. Who is Andrew van Tilborgh?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew van Tilborgh. I am the director of photography of AVAIL. I live in Sanford, Florida, which is about 30 minutes north of Orlando, Florida, where me and my wife reside. We've been married for 2 years now. Um, We have 3 photo studios out here in the Sanford area. I have obviously my own media business and then photography business. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Well, I'll say something really interesting. I got to be at Andrew and Robin's wedding, and what a beautiful wedding it was. It's great to see you. You're on the front end of this journey called marriage, Andrew. And one of the things I love about you is that you are a young talent. You are a young man, and from early on, God has given you some talents and abilities that you have been developing and continue to develop. And I'd love just to talk about how that journey started. Tell us about the moment you first picked up a camera. How old were you? How was that experience, and how has that shaped your journey?
Yeah, it's funny because I never really consciously wanted to ever pick up a camera. I never really consciously wanted to even pursue photography. Um, I got to a point where I was taking a lot of photos just with my phone, and people kept asking me like, "Oh, what are you shooting with? I like your photos, blah blah blah." And I'm just like, "It's my phone." Um, and eventually, I reached a point in just me kind of dabbling around, where I felt like the camera was the medium, and then in the needs to bring the visions that I had to life. So I never really wanted to get a camera because I was a little intimidated maybe if I get a professional camera then it comes with all this I don't know, this, the labels and like this kind of maybe just yeah, just kind of labels of maybe pressure of being a photographer. But I honestly kind of secretly did it when I was like 15 years old. Started snapping away. Um, so that was fun. I was just a kid in the playground, just messing around, really innocent, um, and started taking photos of street photography. Really, that was kind of my entry. Um, to photography, and from there it just compounded on each other. And yeah,
I'm,
the camera chose me.
yeah, yeah. The camera shows you. I'm interested also because I know your parents. I know the great Martine and Amy, and how was there as parents? Because every story is a little different, right? But what did they think when you first picked up the camera? Was there some feedback? Was there some encouragement? Was there any opinions or thoughts from them?
Oh, they've always been extremely supportive. They're always my number one supporter and everything. And um, especially, yeah, anytime I kind of had any sort of thought or question about it, they were always there and supportive. And it definitely helped that traveling a lot as a child with my family really put me in situations and settings where it forced me to really be adaptable in different climates and take pictures on the fly. Um, so
That's
yeah, a
cool.
mixture of their support and then their environment that they brought me up in definitely contributes to all my work.
Now I know that you just mentioned it. You travel quite a bit. You have traveled throughout the years with your family. You've traveled, and even in your role as photographer, bringing your art to different places. You obviously are, you are the photographer, the director of photography for Avail, and in addition to that, you do a lot of other work. Share with us a little bit about some maybe what are some memorable experiences or events that you've captured through photography throughout your career so far that are really important to you or meaningful?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the early stages of my photography journey, the most valuable um, moments in photos are really the ones that were completely unplanned, just really roaming roaming around cities over in Europe primarily, meeting people, conversating with people, taking pictures of them, um, and that kind of contributed to a style that I now implement in my portraiture. There's a lot of great photo shoots that I've done with people. Um, I would say there wasn't really one definitive project or photo shoot that I would say is more memorable than
Mm-hmm.
others. There's plenty of them, but there is definitely a certain level of creative flow that you're able to get with someone that is truly exciting. Um,
Mm.
and there's a few different photo shoots in Avail. Um, Mike Todd was definitely a good one where you
Mm.
kind of are you're creating with them versus creating for them, which is a different dimension that you're able to like reach with the photographer. So
Cool.
yeah, as long as it's a two-way street, I can get behind like a lot of different.
Yeah, I can imagine the not every uh client is the same as far as their passion about being in a photo shoot or their creativity about being in a photo shoot. So I'm sure you as a photographer definitely have to, depending on what you're getting from the person or the people, you kind of got to do your part. That's very, very interesting. Now, as director of photography for Avail, magazines like Waymaker Journal, um, what are some of the key insights or lessons that you've learned that have influenced your work?
Um, Being adaptable. I kind of like to view myself as a spiritual chameleon in some ways. Being able to go in so many different rooms, being true to yourself, but also knowing how to read the room and read your subject.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being versatile and also being able to travel heavy and travel light, being able to be more professional or be more casual depending on what setting and in person you're with. So I think a lot of creatives um, that are successful are the most adaptable people, um, and I think that's definitely a huge lesson that I've learned is being able to, yeah, just read the room.
Can you tell us maybe a story about a tricky location, like a location that maybe was what did we get ourselves into here? Do you have anything like that?
Well, well, a lot of times, you end up, um, you know, a lot of times you make suggestions and people roll with the suggestions, or sometimes you go, because of schedule conflicts, you go to someone's office or,
Uh-huh.
church or house and whatnot, um, and sometimes offices sound like a great idea to take photos in, but then you show up and there's a lot of stuff on the desk and it's not really like the most aesthetically
Uh-huh.
pleasing environment, even though like it is, a sacred space. It's your office, and I understand maybe the suggestion, um, but yeah, I've been in one office in particular that was was a little bit worse than others. It was just like you were in like a cubicle, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, this is where we're gonna take the photos," and I'm like, "Okay." Um, so then, you kind of try to work your way in a different direction, but
Uh-huh.
you can also find ways with just some lighting changes. I try to maybe bring like different backdrop options as well with me in that type of situation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the best photographers in the world can make a not ideal situation and come out with some good photos.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure creativity has to kick in there, ideas have to kick in there. Um, I know, I've had opportunities to do shoots with you, and for me personally, I actually enjoy. I have fun, doing photo shoots. I know everybody maybe
You do.
doesn't.
You're fun. You're a fun.
Hey, I like to have fun. I like to laugh. Um, One thing that maybe somebody might be thinking out there, especially maybe younger photographers, is it possible, or what's the difference, for example, doing it alone, as I'm a solo photographer, sometimes maybe there's some cases where you need to have like a lighting person with you, or or a makeup person who's helping take care of the subject and how they're looking. Talk to us about that. I mean, how does that look, in a photo shoot? Does it vary? Does it matter?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to, both situations. In the beginning, I really got very comfortable with photo shoots just being me and my lighting assistant, and I worked a long time with my lighting system, so we had like a really good flow. And then every once in a while, we started incorporating stylists, makeup artists, other assistants with wardrobe and, lighting, all this other stuff. Um, and what I can say is, when it's people that you have a good, um, you're on the good wavelength and good, relationship with, it's the best thing ever,
Hmm.
because you guys are all just feeding off of each other's energy. And, some of my best photos, I think, come from working on a team where we're just kind of throwing out ideas, trying stuff.
Hmm.
um, Stylists and makeup artists make my editing process way easier. So yeah, I mean, if possible with the right team, I think it's great. Sometimes if if you kind of try to fight it, which I did, early on in my career, it can be a little bit detrimental to your process because you're getting all these opinions. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you got to learn to stay true to your vision and find ways that they can still contribute. And it's not taking away; it's only adding. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, but that's just anything in team building and team work, right? So
Of
yeah.
course, of course, that's cool. Now, like I was said earlier, you started pretty young, and you still are young, and and I've heard a little bit about the Captivate company. I'd love for the Avail audience to hear a little bit the story behind the founding of the Captivate company and the mission.
Yeah. So I realized pretty quickly, a few years into, my photography career, that I can only take so many photos, and that my growth is kind of, the ceiling of my growth is based off of how many photo shoots I can do and what kind of clients I can land and what projects am I working on, which is great. Um, but I also really like working with other people, and I also really like my friends who are photographers. I like their work just as much as my own work, sometimes even better, honestly. Um, so I started the Captivate company as a creative media agency of initially other photographers, and every photographer kind of has their own specialty. Um, and instead of us competing against each other trying to land projects, we kind of dish the projects to the best photographer in that realm of work. So first and foremost, flagship product is definitely photography, but we also create campaigns and creative strategies on turning someone's individual brand maybe, or their business product, or just business in general, creating experiences, sometimes live events out of the thing, and um, visual campaigns out of it. So photos is definitely the first ground to work with
Hmm.
us, but then we can really extend and create a world out of um, your product. Yeah.
That's cool. And what right now, or when you first started, about how many people were on in the Captivate company as far as collaborators? Has it grown since then? How's that been?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great meeting and collaborating with more and more people every
Mm,
year. Um, Initially, it was kind of me and a few other photographers. Now we have a network of probably a dozen other creatives in general
cool.
that we kind of do our own thing, and then Captivate brings them together for a project like the Avengers would. So yeah.
That's so cool. That's and just out of curiosity, are they all kind of in the Orlando, Sanford area like you, or are they different parts?
Yeah, all over the place, wherever planes can fly. Um, so yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. It must be fun. Kind of you're building something there, and it seems like as you keep going, I'm sure more pieces of the puzzle come together, and the reach gets even further. I have a question, um, kind of maybe more on the, and this might be kind of on your kind of photography style, but how do you like what do you do, because you want your photographies to be genuine, you want them to be true representations of, for example, your subjects personalities or the brand of the company you're working with or whatever you're doing. How do you ensure that you really capture the essence of the subject, the product, the culture, the heart of what you're taking photography of?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's one, you got to set the tone as the photographer. I think your communication has to be clear. I always tell my subjects wear what you're comfortable in. I don't want to. Why would I want to capture someone wearing something that they would never wear or
Right.
isn't true to their authentic style? So you got to set the tone that we're not trying to make you someone that you're not. I'm trying to find who you are and capture that.
Mm-hmm.
So setting the tone is definitely good. Setting clear expectations and just saying like wear what you're comfortable with. What kind of setting do you like? Some people rather do it indoors. Some people rather do it outdoors. Feel them out, and then yeah, on don't take it too seriously. I think um, it's obviously it's a important job as a photographer, especially in the magazine world. But at the end of the day, I think if you're able to be very easygoing and just um, go with the flow of things, laugh, talk with the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all things that you get to figure out who they are very rapidly in that kind of setting, because it's a very vulnerable process to take pictures of people, and you see some of the most confident people when they get in front of the camera change personalities very quickly. So I think, yeah, I think it's really just about like simplifying your process, setting clear communications, and don't take it too seriously.
Hey, kind of along the same lines, from your experience, what are some do's and don'ts? Because there are leaders leaning in right now. There are pastors, marketplace leaders, people who maybe have to. Hey, we have to take pictures for this marketing campaign or for what we're putting on social media. What are a couple of do's or a couple of don'ts that are just simple instructions and tips for people to keep in mind when they're going to be photographed?
hire a good photographer. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think stay up. Yes, I mean, in the same realm, stay authentic to your message. Don't
Uh-huh.
don't follow what's trending at the moment, because that's gonna stop next week. Figure out what you want to stand for as a church or as a business, um, and hone in on that one thing that is unique, and then build something around that one thing, that one non-negotiable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually that's what's going to sell. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's going to stand out. So yeah, fine. Hone in on like a singular thing, and then don't get too another. This is even maybe more practical. Don't get too caught up in the details and the logistics of the
Okay.
actual production, because it's all going to change the day of, no matter what. So I see so many people putting, in my opinion, a little bit too much emphasis on the actual technicalities of things. While there is a place for that,
Sure.
that the technical things aren't what make beautiful art. Technical
Right.
things are what make good photos. It's the heart behind the art. So
That's good.
yeah,
That's good. I like that. I like that. I can't help but think, Andrew, that there may be maybe some young, aspiring photographers that are just starting their journey. They're looking to kind of get the ball rolling, so to speak. Uh, any tips for some young creatives in that beginning stage of advice of how they can get things started?
just try, just do, just shoot a bunch of photos. Be the one willing to get on angles that other people aren't willing to get on angles for. Be the one approaching that subject that you think looks cool and asking, "Can I take a photo of you?" Be the one who isn't afraid to fail. All these things. It's just about doing, 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 and then eventually something's going to stick, and an opportunity will come. Don't overcomplicate the outcome or the title of being a photographer or being a creative or any sort of art form. I think it's really just about, in the early stages, just trying and just taking a whole bunch of photos in my case, and then eventually things stick. Yeah.
Hmm. That's good. That's good. I like it. I like it. What if I get to Andrew Van Tilborgh's heart right now? What does your heart feel like? What here's a better way of phrasing it. What impassions you when it comes to your art of photography? There's the pre, there's the during, there's the post, but what is it about it that just captivates your heart?
I think, yeah, that's a deep question. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's so many sides to that. I think being a human created by God, you inherently have this desire to create, because we're made in His image and He created us. Therefore, embedded in our DNA is to create. So
Mm-hmm.
me being a part of anything creative or creating in general, which is everyday life, really, um, I feel out of touch, basically. So I think it's more so um, a lifestyle that I live with the Father, and um, I'm able to get to know Him better, and He's able to get uh, bring people into my sphere of influence because of this. So it's really about people, and it's about moments. There's not many other things that you're able to capture and on one single frame, and then it just lives forever. That's priceless.
Yeah.
Only God can be the judge of the value on that moment of time. So being in a position where I'm able to take photos of people and take photos of everyday life, um, it's a true honor, and I just want to, yeah, capitalize on that and be able to preserve this moment of time for Him. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. um As you're talking, it makes me think as well, because I've had my years on the creative side as a musician, not as a photographer, but I can think along my journey, there were people who inspired me. There were people who and it might have been in the same field, same area, or even in other ways, and angles. Who are a few people that have inspired you, maybe on the creative side of things, or maybe on the kind of life journey, but who are a few people that have been important on your journey in photography, and maybe even still?
Yeah, I mean, most of my inspiration, I think for my work comes from other mediums and other art forms. Really, um, I think there's a lot of I gain a lot of um, inspiration from music artists. Um, I think Kanye West is definitely a big one in the early days.
Hmm.
Um, seeing his progression over time, seeing him being able to reinvent himself through generations
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting. Um, and his just tenacity and just willingness to just do what he wants. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to learn from that. Um, as far as like photographies and photographers, there's not really one photographer or anything like that. I follow a lot photographers, and you see a lot of images that like inspire you on the day to day. But yeah, I think um, yeah, that's kind of it. I think Kanye is definitely one that has inspired me throughout time consistently. But I get inspiration from um, people in every single industry,
Hmm.
in fashion industry and um, government, people in church. Like all these people have something to bring to the table, and it can sneak its way into whatever you want it to.
That's cool. Now, because we are on the Avail podcast, if anybody's watching the video, I have magazines behind me. I have the Avail Journal here in my hand. You know, I'm sure that now, 4 years into this journey that has been Avail, it's probably a little more normal for you than before. But maybe even the first time you got that I remember the first edition with Dr. Sam Chand on the front cover, kind of leaning over the desk. It was literally spring of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me about how did it feel to be a part of a process where you're taking all these pictures, right? And then all of a sudden, there's a magazine in your hands that contains that hard work, but it's all beautifully designed and put together. How was that experience when you kind of first held it in your hands?
No, it was super surreal. It still is super surreal. Um, in many different ways. I think like you're talking about that first issue in spring of 2020. That was like a super like interesting but very cool season of my life. Because it's kind of like I took that photo just because I felt like taking that photo.
Uh huh.
But then you see it being used in a purpose that you didn't even think about when you took that photo. And Sam was pretty serious on the cover, which is not typically how he would
Uh huh.
normally look. But for whatever reason, I'm like, just be serious for a few. And sometimes you just do things, and then the purpose of the things you do gets designed later, which is a good example. And I think that's the same with this. I didn't think I would be doing this, taking photos and having them printed out, meeting all these amazing leaders. It's like truly the best
Hmm.
form of education one could ever ask for, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's great, and I think it shows that um, all that preparation that you go through in life, you won't always know what it will be used for, but if you can just trust that it will be used for something, you you never know when the stars will align and then that door opens up. So
Hmm. That's
um,
good.
yeah,
That's good. As we're kind of hitting the final stretch here, Andrew, I imagine there are pastors, leaders, people who are in positions of influence that are probably leaning in right now, listening to this podcast. If, for example, if they wanted to reach out to you, get in touch with you, find out more about your photography, where could they go to reach you, to connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, totally. If you want to see my personal portfolio, just type in my name, Andrew van Tilborgh, which I don't expect you to know how to spell, but I'm sure it's in the description of the podcast you're listening to. And just put a .com after that, and then you'll see my portfolio, and then links to all my social media will be on there as well. My Instagram is what I'm mostly active on, which is just Andrew VT. If you want to check out the Captivate Company, my media company, just captivatecompany.com, and then same for all social media, Captivate Company. So that's where you can reach us, and yeah, let us know.
Would you agree, Andrew, that it's important for ministries, organizations, businesses to have a good photographer?
I would agree.
Yeah, let me just take a quick moment here. Check out Andrew's portfolio, andrewvantilborgh.com. I've had the opportunity to work personally with Andrew on many occasions and to see him in action, and just be a spectator of the amazing work that he's produced over these years. And Andrew, I just want to say, it seems like you're getting better as you keep going and progressing, you keep getting better. I want to mention this to everybody right now. I have one in my hand, the AVAIL Journal. If you're not yet subscribed to the AVAIL Journal, I want to invite you to try a free trial subscription that we'll give you by going to availjournal.com, availjournal.com. It'll be on us, the free trial. Check it out because it's going to bless you, especially if you are a Christian leader. That's what AVAIL is all about. It's talking about this art we call leadership. And in addition to the leadership content, you're going to see some great photographic art from the hands of the one and the only Andrew van Tilborgh. I think it's good, Andrew, for people to get resources in their hands to learn, to grow, and the AVAIL Journal is definitely a place. I'm sure you've been encouraged, not just by what it looks like because you've taken the pictures, but there's some great content in AVAIL, correct?
Yes, totally. Yes. Yes, there's a lot to learn.
I think as we're closing things off, Andrew, I'd love to maybe just finish with either one piece of encouragement or advice that you want to give everybody in regards to what we've talked about on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking there's a lot of influential leaders who are leading teams, ministries, organizations listening. I think we lived in a season um, where creativity was kind of viewed as a luxury, um, but I think we're now in a season where it's a necessity. Where in order for you to fulfill the vision and that you want and see the fruits of it, you need a strong creative team. That doesn't mean you have to have freaking a lot of photographers and a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
art directors and painters. That's not what I mean. I mean, I think that your growth is contingent to how willing you're able to um, create and put yourself out there in unique expressions. So yeah, don't view it as a luxury. These things, view it as a necessity, and you'll see the fruits of that very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a good word. I think the reality is you can be good at what you do and offer something great to the community or to the public, but if they don't know that you're there, if they don't know how to reach you, if what you're putting out there doesn't look professional and good, that could impact people's perspective or even affect that they know you or don't know you. So I think it's a good point that you make, Andrew. And it's not about having everybody; it's about having those right people. You mentioned a few things like people that align kind of with your heart, that align with your culture, people that get you. That's going to be helpful, especially when it comes to creativity and design, artwork, photography. This has been fun, Andrew. I love it because our AVAIL audience, a good percentage of them, they get the AVAIL Journal. They look at it. A lot of them probably right now are poking at it on their coffee table or in their office. And the truth is, everybody, if you've ever held an AVAIL Journal in your hand, I would say that 99% of those pictures have been taken by Andrew van Tilborgh on photo shoots and special occasions where uh, all of the contributors and pastors and leaders who are communicating through the content have an opportunity to be photographed by Andrew. Andrew, it's been awesome connecting with you and just hearing a little bit about your journey and your process in your photography world. And it's exciting to see and hear about all the things the Lord is doing. Just want to mention on behalf of our AVAIL team, which you're a part of, on behalf of our founders, Dr. Sam Chand and Martijn van Tilborgh. I think you know Martijn pretty well. We just want to
I've heard of
say
you.
we're proud of you, Andrew. We're thankful for your life, and we can't wait to see all that God has in store in the future. It's so fun to see your art and your creativity kind of come to life every AVAIL Journal issue and through all the other work that you're doing. It really is awesome. We're really proud of you.
Thank you very much, Virgil. That means a lot.
Yes, sir. Hey, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the AVAIL podcast with the one and the only, our key director of photography at AVAIL, Andrew van Tilborgh. Check out all of his work on the AVAIL journals. Check out all his work by checking out his portfolio, andrewvantilborgh.com. If you want more about Captivate Company, check out captivatecompany.com. On behalf of the AVAIL podcast, my name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church, your host on the AVAIL podcast, where we bring something fresh every single week, talking about this art we call leadership. Be blessed, and we'll catch you next time right here on AVAIL. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast with our guest, Andrew van Tilborgh. You can check out Andrew's portfolio by going to andrewvantilborgh.com and find out about the Captivate Company by going to captivatecompany.com. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. And make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.